Hi everyone, my name is Austin Nasworth. I am a senior here at Valencia in the CTSD program, and this semester I was given the opportunity to work on the OpenStack project, specifically OpenStack Tempest and StackViz. So OpenStack Tempest is a nice little testing tool that allows you to test an OpenStack implementation via API. You just point it towards OpenStack, let it rip, and it will conveniently test everything and give you the results back. A big important part of Tempest that we're going to need in the next steps here, and for StackViz, is it's written in Python. And Python being single-threaded, you don't want to stack some of the tests that take longer, right? If you have 3 tests that take 5 minutes on a single thread, that'll take about 15 minutes to run, in sequence. What Tempest allows you to do is spread that into worker nodes, so you can have 3 separate workers running those 5-minute tests at the same time, making your total time just 5 minutes. It really speeds things up. So StackViz is a nice little tool in the Tempest suite that allows you to visualize your test data and allows you to click around and see what's going on, and maybe you can see that, oh, even though I have 3 separate nodes running tests, all the tests that take a long time are running on worker number 1, and maybe next time I can split them up a little better, right? So StackViz is it's kind of 2 main parts. There's a Python script that actually parses the subunit files that Tempest spits out, and then there's a JavaScript front end using Angular and D3 to provide you this little example you see here, right? And D3 library is a nice little graphing tool that allows you to create some really cool graphs that we'll look at in just a second. So if we switch over here, we can see on the left side we have the StackViz that I'm currently working on, recreating, and then we have the current upstream StackViz, right? So if you see here in the example, it says the total amount of time that the tests were, 207 tests were ran, 38 failed. If you go down here and scroll through failures, we can click on one and see more details. You can see what worker it was on. You can see the nice trace and whatnot. And if we go to details here, you can see the nice graph. This is all written in D3.js. So if I scroll here, I can say, oh, look, this is a really big test, right? This one took some time. I can click on, I can see, oh, cool, it took 12.7 seconds, right? And I go through here, I can see, oh, maybe these tests that failed, like, these are kind of stacked together. Maybe we could change that. We can click in, see maybe like why did this test fail, right? I can see the trace, I can see the Python logging that's related. We get a lot of interesting information out of it. And that's kind of what StackViz is mostly used for, the visualization tool. So getting into tooling, working on a new implementation of StackViz and an old implementation, was really convenient for me to use tmux and neovim and being able to switch back and forth. So if I go over here, I can show you, this is my tmux pane that I've been working out of the past few weeks. So if I click over here to new StackViz, I can edit anything, and maybe I want to work on, quickly switch to the setup JavaScript script I created. I can just find file, type in setup, and then, oh, look, there it is, setup.js. I can come in here and quickly make changes, switch between tabs. If you look down here at the bottom, I have the actual server running, and go back up. And if I want to look at the old implementation of StackViz, I can just click over to this window, and I have it right here. I can just skip through anything HTML I want to look at to reference. Is all right here. I can copy and paste between panels if I need to, if I can, hopefully. And you can see at the bottom that's also running. And then if I'm done for the day, I want to leave, I can just detach from tmux. And that's kind of been the biggest help, working back and forth like that for me. And then also, if I want to use Git, because this is a big Git heavy project, especially amending commits constantly, I can just go into lazy git, which is built into, and I can see all the files I currently have staged. I can go down to any local branches that I've created. I can see my commit, and I can work through there and see more info on that. So that's kind of my tooling setup right now. So for the implementation of fixing StackViz, we did it in kind of 3 major steps. So the first one was to just upgrade the Python and Node dependencies to just work with modern Python and Node. So previously, we were to use StackViz, you had to have Python 2.7 or lower, and it really wouldn't work with Node 12 or above. You had to have less than that. And with if you go download Ubuntu, Debian, or RHEL right now, you're gonna find dependencies way newer than both of those. And then the second step was to upgrade the front end testing suite. So StackViz has a lot of nice little built-in tests that it should bring up a headless browser and then run through StackViz and make sure everything shows up and everything works with some specific testing data. And then the third major step was to just upgrade the front end of StackViz to modern Angular, so it's a little more workable and easier to actually continue working on. So you can see the first kind of major step for me was to go ahead and get the Python dependencies from 2.7 to 3.12. That was actually relatively easy. There's not many Python dependencies needed in the script, so I was able to just trial and error and figure it out pretty quickly. The node was a little more tricky. So going from less than node 12 to anything 16 or above, which is kind of what I set my target as, just for any the current and future releases of Ubuntu and RHEL. I wanted to be able to just start up a new server, download Node and Python, and it should just run. So I set my personal goal as anything 16 and above, and then also Angular 1.5.2 to Angular 17 plus is a really big jump. A lot has happened in the JavaScript and Angular ecosystem since then. And then actually the next two dependencies are also a part of that. Browserify is previously what Angular's testing suite was in the past. It's deprecated now, no longer being maintained. The Angular team is in the process of switching to Playwright. They haven't fully done it yet, but conveniently I already have implemented it for my step 2 situation, because we kind of needed to for the Firefox, because being able to test it with Firefox was kind of crucial. It's been deprecated in Browserify for a while. It was no longer working, and Playwright allows us to run it headless anyways. So the fix is actually going to be the future norm anyways. So that was pretty easy to implement and to push forward with. I think one of the biggest changes was going from gulp.js to NPM scripts. NPM scripts are pretty ubiquitous now. It's kind of just a huge part of the JavaScript and Node ecosystem. But a few years ago when StackViz was created, that didn't really exist yet. So gulp.js was kind of used as your entry point when you would run a Node project. And gulp.js kind of did a little more complicated than NPM scripts, but kind of took care of the same thing. And translating those gulp scripts into NPM scripts was somewhat fun, and and now with modern Angular that we're working on now, NPM scripts are just the norm. And that was kind of a big jump though. So for technical challenges, I think the first one we kind of came into was deprecated dependencies. And to kind of come around this, I was able to, on the JavaScript side, there's some tools out there that could create giant dependency maps, because we're talking thousands and thousands of node dependencies chained together, right? So dependency map really helped me figure out which ones are the key ones, and you can kind of somewhat visualize which ones are either deprecated or will cause problems with certain node versions. And I was able to just push them as far as I can for that first implementation step, just so hey, you can download StackViz on modern Ubuntu, modern RHEL, and it should just work. I think maybe the biggest challenge of them all technically was we're just working with pre-ES 2015 JavaScript. A lot has changed in JavaScript since then. Things like gulp and deprecated packages are a big one, but also TypeScript. Everything's TypeScript now, including modern Angular. And going from pre-ES 2015 JavaScript, trying to translate that into modern JavaScript and TypeScript, kind of a challenge. It pretty much involves rewriting a lot, especially with Angular, or rewriting a lot of the functions and functionality there. Some of it's the HTML templates isn't too bad, but it's mainly the JavaScript part. It's kind of complicated. And then the third kind of big one kind of took me a whole week to figure out. Asynchronous Angular and JavaScript. A lot has changed there too. So just pulling in that data initially, I ended up just creating that setup.js file I showed you earlier, and kind of making a nice script make one giant JSON file, kind of make the initialization very repeatable and easy to understand when you actually start to visualize your data, right? Moving on to successes and disappointments, I think the two successes I had were making those two PRs pretty quickly for upgrading the dependencies and fixing the testing suite. I kind of got lucky with a couple of those, just prior experience and just kind of being pretty aware of how the JavaScript ecosystem works and kind of how it breaks. The only kind of disappointment I had is just the moving from Angular 1.5.2 to Angular 17. Takes a long time. I had to take about almost 2 weeks to just learn Angular. It's a very big framework. It's somewhat complicated. It's made for really big projects that last for years, which is great. But Angular 1.5, maybe they didn't have quite the same vision at the time. It's a lot to translate. It's taking a little bit longer, but it's fine. I'm going to keep on pushing with it no matter what. And I'm pretty dedicated to figuring this one out. I think it's a pretty fun project, actually. I really enjoy this kind of web stuff and visualizing data. I think it's pretty fun. If I had a do-over project, hindsight's 2020, I would maybe skip some of the problem dependencies in the very beginning. Because now that we're able to upgrade Angular from 1.5 to 17, a lot of those necessarily don't matter anymore. But that's with hindsight's 2020. You really don't know how long things are taking when you first start. So I think that first step of just getting it working was really important. Especially maybe even for confidence wise, just being able to push forward and go step by step, I think was really important. But I just want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks to Professor Corey for letting us do this, and a special thank you to Lucas and the OpenStack team. I had a really great time getting to know Lucas. It was really fun getting to talk to him every week and learning more about what he does and how hearing some more about how things work behind the scenes at these big projects, and just being able to contribute is really fun. And I've had a great time. And I'm hopefully we'll continue to keep having a great time and keep working on it. I really want to fully implement all of new StackViz. I'm having a really good time doing it, and just thanks to everybody, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.